I said at that core level, at that invariant level, you can continue to project your attention to understand something else. What is that? When did I say this? I said, I will tell you, I told this in the context of the different way, the special way the cell membrane of the sperm and egg is set, the scaffolding of the cells are like that. Only those two cells. Okay. From this, what wonderful perception you can generate now. Question clear?
That, yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
That is the uniqueness of the self, unique identity of at the core level.
What is my question?
Yes, it's all about the merging of the cells and what it creates at the core level.
No, not actually. That's the way you can complete the question. That's okay, good. Because in my sessions, it is network thinking. I have to talk about 100 other things, but I have to restrict all of them and continue in at least one of the chosen lines. So I am choosing this direction. Get the point, Naveen. Right now I can change the direction to what you said also, Naveen, but I am not doing that. In order to rigorously maintain the brevity and boundary of the sessions, okay. So the question was, the cell membranes of these two cells, sperm and egg, are set in a different scaffolding or different membrane process. From that, what all interpretations, what all further extensions of perceptions or ideas or concepts you will develop right now. That is the stone falling before you right now. That is the apple that is falling before you right now. I asked what if that is the case today, that is the given data. From that data, what are possible extensions, what are flight, what are eccentricities you can apply on that and come out with a different poetry about that. Just eccentric freak out, come on.
Scaffolding is usually to give strength and structure.
That is for a material building. And here also.
Yeah, here also it is giving structure to the cell. It is not usually easy to break. But in this case, it is allowing that scaffolding to break.
Okay, that is good. But that
In
is
spite
just...
of breaking, it is not losing its identity. It is still retaining its core. That cell is not dying or...
Wait. Now you have made another observation. Do you realize that? And then you make a conclusion out of that. Now you make a conclusion out of it. So what?
It's 22 hours.
So, ideally, if that is broken, the cell should die. Here, the cell is not dying, it is giving life.
All right, go on. Anything more? From what you observed, here actually our topic is including also conceptualization process of intellect. Do you have a perception there? Question number one. It could be very vague or solid. Are you really are you really picking up those perceptions into the words? That is the question. Repeat your own perception. 100 things. So in this context, I wanted to tell you sometime back, you as genius in self, you must develop the ridiculous trust on what your intent of thinking produces. That's what all the geniuses did. Newton felt a doubt about things falling. Only he in the history of humanity. And he trusted that doubt. He trusted the possible question of that. That is the number one signature of so-called genius in self. And standing on that, you take the next leap. Don't stop there. Get the point, Nitya? Yeah.
Yes.
You don't have to press answer. You raise your hand or something like that, Nitya. You got the point?
Yes.
You don't have to put on unmute and say yes. You just raise the hand, okay? Because you are visible. Use expressive language also. So you don't have to turn on that mute unmute buttons. Alright, Pavadi. This is what I precisely was looking for. Naveen made a parallel question. But then only I said, if you go like that, this particular session can extend up to 30 hours. I am absolutely sure about that. I can take this session on this topic to another 30 hours. That much is there. Alright? If you go like what Naveen suggested. But you are on the point of the question, and you said, what was the question? I am repeating. These two cells are so different.
Folding of the two
No,
cells.
that's all I explained. Primarily, these two cells are different. What are your observations? And now you thought about scaffolding, and you said these two particular cells, though they merge, certain part of it is disappearing, and they still maintain their individuality. Something like that you said. Okay, that is an observation. Okay, they merge together, but they still retain their individuality to continue their process. What process? Their intracellular process they had. Only the membranes got connected. Get the point? Two membranes became one membrane, that's all. Of course, further to that, marvelous speed of cell multiplication. That's a different issue. We are talking only about this point. What? These two cells are totally different from all other cells, and these two cells merge together, though the membranes never do that in other cases. So there could be different properties of that cell membrane. Vinay might know this. There might be science about it. By the way, we are not completely slaves, depending on the scientific information. What I call, I don't know whether anybody else has used that term, metaphysiology, like metaphysics. This is my type, as far as I know. So these advantages, discoveries are there. That is the available falling apples. Looking at that falling apples, what all genius level perceptions you will derive or develop or deduce, so that you become a genius in self in your direction. So think about, for example, if that is the case study, what? One sentence. Two cells merge together, the membrane becomes one, but the contents retain its engines. All right. What are the implications of this in life, in work, in relationships, in behaviors, in deciding actions, in doing activities, in doing the shana of your every doing, and doing of your language? Okay? So, you see, what all implications? Where all this can apply in your HR management? Where all you can apply in your relationships? Where all you can apply in your language competency? And then, etc., etc., etc. And then, where all you can apply it back to your own entity? Is there a merging of the membranes of the different knowledge you have got to some other invisible membrane inside you? Are your knowings put in different compartments, like people in the world actually do? The entire populations of the world actually do. Their great knowledges about the Bible and the Quran and the Gita are retained like in a cell membrane, contained. They don't get merged with their own actions, because those action tendencies are kept in some other cells. They have compartmentalized, they have divided their minds. This is called the divided mind, Parvati. This is what just does not allow us to be merging with the universe. You know, you are every moment much more than that, receiving the air and the water and the temperature and the space and the location of this planet Earth. To what extent you have merged with that? See the question raised from that example? You are retaining your identity. You are not ready to merge with the massive cell all surrounding you at every moment, at every point. What is preventing you? Your mindset about the you. Your mindsets about the boundaries of the you. Your solid perceptions because of the sense-bound perception that your fresh blood boundary and your dress is disconnected from the air outside. Because your element of connectivity, your understanding of connectivity is like one road. Okay? Though every moment of your own intent is only that way connected even to the movement of a finger. Okay? Yeah. These are the possibilities of original ideas you can further develop from that point alone. Get the point?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That is why we discussed membrane. Yesterday Amaya asked me, Mantra asked me, are you shopping with only cell membrane and then few things? I said that is fundamental, that is enough for our purpose to proceed to understand the entire gravitational laws of the very body. That falling stone is enough. But we will proceed to other things also, because we want to answer to some other people. When you talk, you should be knowing everything about what you talk. Though it may not be recorded. I told you my computer has more than 25,000 files, not even 200 files are even opened. But that doesn't matter. Only that remaining files, whatever my own intuitive research discovered, that only gives me the scaffolding to address any audience in any part of anywhere in the world about what I know. Indisputably sure. And that's what I want you also to develop. Yes, because we talked about the topic of scaffolding. Scaffolding is the thing. Because no process can work without the help of that scaffolding. I am talking like an advanced microbiologist. I don't know any damn thing about that at all. But I can intuitively see all these things. I may not be able to name them. I don't want to name them. You don't go by name, you go by your wonderful engines of imagination and visualization and conceptualization. See the referent of what you are talking. See, that is when you see Nitya, your cell assembly. Going back to theoretical genius, who gave all ideas to the first person? This was a question asked me by my great mother when I expressed the difficulty in learning all the books. Who created the first book? From where he or she got that idea? If it is so, why can't you? For your own genius, not to write books or to declare in the world or to become known as a mystic or anything. That is the commitment of the will of the genius with oneself. Get the difference of the genius? That's why a genius is a genius. It's a genius and definitely different from the ordinary. We talk everybody is a genius and all that to begin with. When you go deeper and deeper, you will see that it is not that easy because of the conditionings. Because of the conditioning of our sense perception itself, which divides the you from the air around, the trees around, the grass around, the cloud around, the rain around, the mountains around, not far away in Los Angeles, around you. Connect with that. Every cell is connected with the neighborhood cells. Okay, in the cell assembly of the flesh. But the brain is such that it can get connected to any other thing. You know, the dendrites. Somebody used to give, I think Nitya is going to talk about the brain, right? Okay, I hope you talk about the diagram of a neuron. Yeah, autonomous system is an integral part of the brain only. What happened? I mean, suddenly all the videos are off. Right now, there is a sudden off. All the videos got off, Vinny. In my computer, in my screen. Is that so there also? No.
No.
All right. Just ask the question. No problem.
No,
All right.
sir, I'm able to see everybody.
Yeah.
Now, right now I can also see, but there was a 3-second what you call breakdown, blackout.
So that's actually due to network fluctuations.
Oh,
That's
it's
also happening for me.
Okay, ma'am. Today I can see you much more clearly, fully. The camera angle is really good. Your setting is beautiful and simple. The scaffolding of your room is beautiful and simple. All right, the invisible scaffolding. The invisible scaffolding in your mind that decided to have that setting of things, that whatever there, you know. Invisible scaffolding. Going in that way, I want to create that invisible scaffolding of clear perception about your own entity in its totality, which in turn is just indicated by a stupid set of words called genius and self. All right, Pavati, yes. That is the possibility of that understanding. But again, when we go back, like Nitya mentioned, when such a massive process is happening inside an integral part of the body, I am talking about the female. I would say the stupid females of the world, who are just sitting on the tip of the iceberg of enlightenment, but never realizing that. In their body, creation happens. No man in the world's possibility can ever conceive another entity like himself. But the female body has that magnificent representation of the origin of the universe in the form of cell membranes. The universe originated in an invisible membrane. The origin of the universe is from the invisible, insensible, intangible. And that is going on in the female body. So we can continue like this. Okay, any more perceptions from the last session?
Sir, when we are
Wait, sorry. Why only you had these perceptions, I wonder. Now the question is back to one of the aims of the Genius and Self program, to make you capable of conceptualization. There is no meaning if you become a genius unless you are able to talk about it to at least one other person before you die. Unless you make at least one other person equivalent to you, there is no meaning. So is this the level of conceptualization or your commitment to reflection on whatever ideas that you consider important? Or did you not consider it as important? What is that mindset called importance? You will notice something only if it is important. Who the hell are you? I can ask like that. What in you is deciding what is important and what is not important? What is the guarantee that you have the freedom to really choose what is important for your own evolution and development and enlightenment? What is the guarantee that your choices are not simply remote controlled by the centricity and conformity with the environment around? So I have told you to keep a journal, write down every day. Don't leave it. I am very sure I am giving the directions which nobody else in the world would be giving right now. I am damn sure. You can reach your genius in self. I mean it. That's why I conceptualized it. Nobody in the history of the world has conceptualized it. I do it because I have done that. I don't talk anything which I have not done or directly experienced or sensed or perceived or intuitively truth realized. So reflect on that. Why do you spend 3 hours or 2 hours at this point of time? Do you give importance to that? What does it mean? It means that you must give importance to consider almost every sentence made by every one of you and challenge your reflection and conceptualization to derive some point out of that, your own point, thereby developing your what you call originality. That is called originality. You have to do that, otherwise why should we do this? Any more perceptions? Okay, all right. Okay, yes, Anirudh. I want. I am insisting this every day. We cannot do that. See that you take maximum benefit. It's all stupid words. Maximum benefit and all that. I am sure what I am giving to you. I am recording this and putting it in the YouTube. Let anybody in the world, if they see that at all. Nobody watches my YouTube, but I want to create it in the history. When I chose you, I really mean that I can, or you can, access that ultimate level of knowing, the doing of your being.
Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity to thank Dr. Vinay for giving us a wonderful view within us. While he talked about cell membrane, he purposely did not talk about the cell as such. I am very sure that the importance of the cell membrane, and then he went into tissues and organs, wonderfully explained almost the entire body, including what Nitya just said, the uniqueness of two cells uniting to form a new body, a new human being, a new entity. Well, my point of observation, which I felt was very important, I am believing in communication. And he said, cell communicates with other cells to gather information about environment. Now, that took me right where my field of interest is there of communication. How can a cell communicate with another cell and gather information about the environment? I think he was referring to the universe. Thank you, sir. This was my little thought.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is the kind of things. All right, all right. I mean, in this direction, many more kind of things are possible. Now, precisely. And do you see, in other words, that communication is impeccable. 100%, complete, Purnat Purna Mudachide level communication. Are we able to do Purnat Purna Mudachide? From completeness arises completeness. That level of so-called communication, are we ever capable of? Between one cell called Nitya and another cell called her colleague or friend or whatever. Another expansion, conceptual expansion, you can legitimately take that when you are at assemblage, vast assemblage of the cells, you are a cell in the vast assemblage of so-called human worms moving around in this planet Earth. Okay. Forget about other human beings, because genius himself is not about other human beings. Genius himself is about only one human being in the history of the world, that is every one of you. There may be 100 other people, definitely yes. Okay. As you are a cell, then go on. To what extent, what is the brain of you? What is the equivalent of membrane of you? What is the referent of a membrane? Whatever, by your experience you can visualize a thin film. Okay, let us say. Membrane can be 12 feet thick also, but the thinmost possible film. Okay, don't worry about that. You may not be able to go to that microscopic level of actual cell membrane. But depend on that, you can currently see in your projection that film, the transparent film, 100% transparent film, thinness. But this film of the cell membrane hides the property of selecting and choosing what to go, what not to go. Like that was beautifully explained last time. Beautiful. Now see what are the implications. You as a cell, I am doing it. Okay. I told you I can go on for another 30 hours. You as a cell membrane, you must be perfectly correct and clear and complete in what to go out of you and what to get inside you. Is it possible?
Difficult, but possible.
That is why the mystics went to the forest. That's why the mystics created caves in the deep, dark forest mountains. They were not fooling around interacting with each other. There were a collection of such people, they all decided that let us all go there. They all lived most of the time in perfect silence in their own cells inside the carved caves of the huge rocks that you see in Ajanta, and Ellora and Nalanda.
That was probably to keep things from entering their cell, their entity, which they didn't want. You know, it was if you live in a city or with a family or dutiful that people do, they were probably being suffocated with this environment and they went to this peaceful, say, Himalaya.
All right. So coming back to the same point, cell membrane is our model. That's the main point. Let us say so. That's why I wanted. I think Nitya also wanted to talk about cell membrane, right? And then
Autonomic.
in the beginning you wanted to talk about cell membrane.
No,
No.
Somebody else suggested. Parvati.
Parvati.
Then I suggested the ideal person is, the genius is within us, within our group. So he did it. And the purpose was to elevate that falling apple for knowing about cell membrane and other aspects which Vinay rendered to all of us, and derive as many principles of the gravitational forces that can create, that can set the scaffolding of the genius of the you. Genius is the scaffolding of the mindsets and the intellect and the body. A certain unique scaffolding, and we use some words. We have to have words to name things. We use the word genius. Anyway, that is the genius we define. I don't know what Jung defined or Freud defined or somebody has defined, I don't care. We are talking about the referent of that scaffolding of your body, of your mind, of your intellect. I mean that cell membrane, that invisible membrane that sets the boundaries of your expressions, your responses, your behaviors, your doings or actions and activities, your ways of relating with others, and your language. What is that amoebic variation that happens? What are the precise boundaries? Are you clear about what you talk and what you do not talk, or you do not want to talk? Are we clear what to behave, when to behave, how to behave with other entities? Including the pencil and the paper on your table. How the hands approach them. How the mind approaches them. Are they simply taken for granted as any damn thing on your custody? In your custody? To what extent the choice of cell membrane, unlike the cell membrane which are all programmed by the processes of the nature, this unprogrammed, absolutely freewheeling marvel of the human entity, how that choice function is working inside you, how you recreate it, to what extent the choices of what to go inside is your own original creations. Do that. Be aware of that. That's why I said cell membrane is a beautiful, marvelous model. Remember that. That is your mantra. That knowing is the scaffolding, actual material scaffolding in the form of a set of words that can go on, develop like an embryo develops, a fertilized egg develops in the womb of your reflection, attention, perception, that womb of your intellect, womb of your attention. Is your attention functions like a womb? If that sperm of a new idea comes into the womb of your attention, is there anything to receive it? If it is received...
I'm sorry, I have a question to you, sir.
Yeah.
It's 22:30.
The cell membrane, as Dr. Vinay explained, is a mechanism of allowing things inside and allowing the things to exist, wanted, unwanted, positive, who decides what, I take it personally, the thought that what I should focus my attention on, what should I be looking for?
You're asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you, sir, that just like this cell membrane as a mechanism of deciding,
Okay, got it. Okay. In this context, you're clear knowing in the concept of genius.
Yes.
In your clear knowing that whatever we name, whatever we use, the word genius is an empty word, and what is it is referred to is complete knowledge and wisdom about whatever you are interested in. Okay. So when you are that, it will automatically come to you. I want that to come to you automatically. Now, automatically meaning that will definitely entail out of this activities of the session.
So what really happens? Sorry.
We are just pedaling on the magnificent bicycle named Genius. Pedaling. By the end of these sessions, we may practice cycling in the courtyard of this session, that's all. But going out of the gates and flirting around with the world, it is your choice and your practice.
So actually, when you had given us this assignment of choosing to know our body parts, I took the liberty, I don't know from where this thought occurred, that I talked about entity.
No, huge variation. Don't do like Naveen. No. We will come to that later. There is a lot more to be finalized about thing. Do you want to continue? You mean to say that your attention, when it was directed to thoughts about cell membrane, etc., eventually you reached the level of the entity. That's what you said, right?
No, the thought that I should talk about entity when it's also a part of the body, which is directing all the organs. So it turned out that the entity is defined as one of a genius. One of the dictionary meaning gave me, entity is nothing but a genius. And that's how I came to conclude that I'm talking to a master team.
Of course, I got that beautiful notes of you, agreed. But there are still words you have understood, you have perceived it, or you may not have perceived it, whatever it is, you are delivering that language. But the referent reality of whatever you experienced may have a different connotation for the others. That's why we are restricting our discussion. All right?
Thank you. Yeah.
But remember, it is your responsibility to trust and remain inside that cell of your understanding and continue to communicate with other possible, probable cells around the world, so that your knowledge as an embryo will grow up into something tangible. Every piece of knowing is again a cell, not a dying cell. Every piece of knowledge is either a sperm or an egg. It is your choice which one will be a sperm, which one will be an egg. If you got it as a sperm, you have to discover the egg where it can fuse with. If you got it as a fertilized egg, you should nourish it so that it becomes a nearly complete Purnamadacha, kind of a solid piece of intelligence that will guide you to interact and respond and guide and mentor other people. All right. Yes. Naveen, what were your observations about your analysis and your insights about ideas that you heard from Vinay?
Yes, sir, Mr. What we got in the last session or before that, I wondered about the cell's nuclei, and each cell's all its symmetry and unique nuclei present in that, and that is like a searching of God's particle.
Oh, wait. When you make significant keywords of what you say, don't go so fast. Once again, you linkage it with something. Come on, repeat.
Yes, it's like searching the God's particle, that every cell has within its fixed nuclei and nucleus, like every every atom has three elements, neutron, proton and electrons, and especially the electrons that move around. And similar, that is wonder. and that every cells had the nuclei, and even merging of the cells also includes perhaps, I don't know, Mr. Doctor will say that is the merging of the nuclei also. Nucleus of the
Yeah,
two cells merge.
Okay.
And that is the wonder, and that gives the feeling of feeling the particles within you, and the original creation of you, creator of you.
Stop.
And the whole assemblage of that great body is
Rather, wait,
Very
Vinay,
good
Vinay,
about
Vinay,
that.
Vinay, Vinay. Now, develop a little more creative control on your language. You have to focus on the key theme. You have to focus on the headline of what you are going to say. Are you talking about the wonder, or are you talking about those things? Which is the principal
yes,
topic?
sir. It's all about wonder,
Oh, okay,
also,
okay.
but it's all about the feeling also.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. That is what I want. At least this should induce that the most unique emotion of human being called wonder. Almost all other emotions are to a varying extent accessible to other so-called subhuman creatures also. They have some direct linkage. Okay, you got a gift, you feel happy. Direct linkage. You feel a moment of sadness when somebody made some wrong dialogues. There is a linkage. Clear linkage. But with wonder, it is just an open explosion of something. I would say it is the original expression of the so-called engines of intellect. And that is the only thing that operates in the newborn baby. To my knowledge, no psychology textbooks talk about wonder in that sense. They just list it as an emotionally. I am saying that is that original emotion of the little baby from moment onwards, as it opens the eye onwards. That wonder only gradually evolves itself into varied questions, varied searches, and realizing everything and nothing around. And of course, so obviously, that wonder is the precise thing that is crushed and killed by the other people around who know everything. That's a different story. Wonder. I remember a very famous, I don't know if famous or not, a piece of language which Richard Feynman used when he was asked a question by a group of university students that what is your most significant capacity? He said very clearly, as if he knows it very clearly, I am capable of wonder. That's all. My only difference with you is that I am capable of wonder. Because I realized wonder, I use the word capable. You analyze, if you get another moment of wonder, what a marvelous expansion it is. It's a moment of enlightenment. At that moment, a split second or 1 second or 10 milliseconds of wonder, actually, if you are sensitive enough, you will see that you don't exist. I have done that, I know. At that moment, everything else is sort of completely white screen. Even that which induced wonder will disappear. Only some vague something will remain there for a few seconds. And Richard Feynman said, I am a poet. But he was not. So he said, I have written about wonder in this way. I wonder. It is written in his book. First line, I wonder. Second line, I wonder that I wonder. Third line, I wonder why I wonder. Fourth line, I wonder that I wonder why I wonder. So, at least that must happen in the sessions. That was the potential of the session last time. And I wanted you to be basically feeling wonderful about that as you heard it, which I am sure many of you felt it, because of the brevity as well as the beauty of flow, the Tao of the presentation last day. By the way, Nitya, this is the second time my screen goes completely blank. It has come back again. Nothing like that happens there?
No, it has happened to me when my internet connection was slow when I was in Darwin sometimes.
Some time back. Right now, I heard him telling that internet connection here is slow. Yeah, maybe due to that. Anyway, you could hear what I said, right?
Yeah, it
Alright.
turns off the video first and then the voice will continue. So
You were continuously there, sir, as far as I am concerned.
yeah, we could see you.
Oh, I
See
see.
you, hear you completely.
Oh, I see. All right. Then it is some internet minimum. The cell membrane of the internet connection, got a little bit unsure about what to choose to go in. You can see, that's the beauty, that's what I wanted you. You can see almost everything around. Most of the phenomena, most of the scaffolding of things and entities and events and episodes and human beings, can be seen through the camera angle or from the vantage point of cell membrane function. Because we cannot escape from the design of our boundary. We are that. We cannot be anything more than whatever is provided by the nature process. And we are quite eligible for that. And nature process has given all these engines for us for what? This magnificent engine of our attention, our perception, our sensation, our reflection, our conceptualization, our intuition, our imagination, our visualization, our dreaming. Why they are all there? Why these magnificent engines and tools are given to us? For what? And the genius is the one, genius himself is the one who is in regular contact with these engines and use it at least once every day. Or necessarily not once, whenever there is an opportunity. Whenever there is a falling stone. And everything is a falling stone, that's a different issue. But still, I tell you, I want every one of you to be perceived by somebody else as a super guy, or a girl. You may be already, but I am talking about the next level. That is the potential of the sperms or the eggs I am throwing out to you, to the womb of your intellect. Are they functional? All right, Naveen. Good. That's wonder. And Naveen is a person like that. Wonder. Feel that wonder. I always, in fact, I had a series of conflicts with my trainees here, Maya Rajarishi and Mandra Rishika. Maybe because they have been exposed to all possibilities of ideas and examples and metaphors from me from the point when they developed any understanding of language. Maybe because of that, I think both of them are, let me tell you, absolutely incapable of wonder now. Nothing makes them feel wonderful. Yeah. I asked Amaya the other day, are you going to become a sannyasi or somebody like that next year? No feeling of wonder about anything. Everything as if they have seen before. That's only the first orbit, they may be practicing. I want them to proceed into much more rigorous orbits of wonder. So you're also like that,
They
I
may be
suppose.
wondering what else is there.
Parvati is talking.
Yeah.
Once again.
They may be wondering what more is there.
I'm telling, I mean, they are listening to me. They will not deny what I said. I have fired, I have yelled, and I have shouted at Amaya many times. Yeah, that could be possible. I know the explanation because they have heard everything, so that's okay. Now the point is wonder. I wonder that I wonder why I wonder. That is his wonder. That means, like Naveen said, he has gone to that absolute margin of identifying that which is inducing that wonder in him. That's why Richard Feynman was a marvelous speaker and a philosopher. That's why almost all particle physicists, quantum physicists are very, I am sure they are fooling around with the margin of enlightenment. They need my training. I had to push them, that's all. They are already on the verge of that. Or they may be, we don't know. Every day I was a wonder where I was. Starting with my student life was in that college, every day of my teaching, every day wherever I was. Even I could. I am not telling something that is very strange or mysterious or magical or anything like that. That's why Naveen is sitting there. There were 20 other senior top government officials. I am sure every one of them would like to be here. But they don't have the convenience, they don't have the facility to be so. Am I right, Naveen?
Yes, sir, yeah.
And that's why I appreciate him. He is also equally serious person directly reporting to the Chief Minister of Bihar. But somehow he is able to find the time for this. Alright, coming back to the points. Wonder, alright. And that is the minimum thing that must happen in our sessions. Minimum. Alright? Okay. Yes. Christabel. What are your observations?
The thing that struck me the most was my body, the cells in my body, or even a specific organ is like a city in itself with all its citizens and residents. Each cell represents a different person or a different kind of person. So each cell has its own job to do. Like the immunity cells are like the policemen, the viruses are the bad guy, are the criminals. So everyone has something very specific.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, go on.
And then there's also architecture and buildings and roads. So passive transport only allows small or certain vehicles. Active transport will allow a different kind of vehicle.
Absolutely brilliant.
So so every single cell or group of cells is like a whole city in itself. So we're like the entire body is like the entire universe, or maybe Earth, like with specific roles, specific parts to play.
Okay, 1, 2. From this, what else? That is the way to go to the next orbit.
And so how to interact, how to put it all together in my perspective for maybe the greater good, to keep like how everything in the body, all the cells work to keep the body going and in good condition, how we have to all work our own parts or fulfill our own roles, keep humanity going.
Okay, good. Now proceed. You had the metaphor of a city. Who thinks like that about the city? in an actual city.
So, sorry, sir?
You use the metaphor of a city to explain
Yes.
this, okay? Beautiful. Very realistic, very practical. Who takes decisions on the affairs of the city?
So even there is, you have, probably, I would say the brain or...
No, don't go back. I mean, you are now shifting back to the origin. No. I am talking about the metaphor you used, Christabel.
Yes.
You talked about a city, absolutely sensible metaphor. I am
Yes.
asking a straight, simple question. Who is in charge of a city? Actual city, I mean.
You, each aspect is controlled by a different...
No. There is a master controller for a city. That was your question finally, you know. That's why I asked you, who manages a city? Who is the manager of a city? What is the name of that person? Position.
So you have the mayor, if
Order. Or for a state, the chief minister.
or chief minister.
For a nation, the
Yes.
prime minister, okay? They mean the
Yeah.
leader.
Yeah.
So the leader, it is the responsibility of the leader to do that.
Yes.
And if it is taken seriously, that leader will do that. He will find out. Even managing a city could be easy. But the managing the city captured in the cell membrane named Christabel, okay, it is definitely little complex, that's all. But if you for which, what is the first requirement, you know? You have to ascertain yourself that you are the leader. You are the leader of that city inside you.
Yes.
And then listen to the sounds of the forest of that city.
Yes.
And wait. Remember the parable of the sound of the forest?
Yes.
Yeah. Like that bee, that little prince. We concluded by saying that we represent all the three. We are the king that commands our own self to go for that expedition to know. And we are the master, unfortunately. We have the responsibility of the master who takes the risk of pushing that slightly fearful, doubting prince to proceed. Get out of the comfort of the monastery and go into the deep, dark, dangerous forest. Don't stand hesitating. That is there. You are only hesitating, Christabel. I know. Are you doubtful that you are the mayor of that city of the you?
No, sir.
That's all. That's the only possibility. Are you suitably elected and placed there? Or are you just adopting that because somebody told you you are the you, your name is Christabel and you have to do this, you don't have to do this, you have to learn this, etc., etc.? Somebody just want to go position the you over the city and saying that you are the mayor. That's what happened. Now, you have to know, that's what we are doing in this Genius in Self program. We are just getting familiarized with the citizens and the local administration departments and all the varied process and the roads and the bridges and the canals or whatever that comprises the city of the self. That's what we have done. And we have done precisely what you did, what you said in the beginning. We have come across clear descriptions about every citizen of the city. What is the number? Some 144 trillion whatever. Okay, that much is not required. We take a statistics of that. That's why every day you spend at least 5 minutes focusing our attention on that city.
Yes.
Identifying the varied departments rather than just sitting in your palace and looking through binoculars. Walk around with your attention. Take your attention to the back of your eyes, your nose, your lips, your cheeks, your ears, your head, your hair, your neck, your shoulders, your hands, your fingers, your spinal cord, your chest, your ribs, your abdomen, your hip, your thighs, your ankles, your fingers of the toes. Go. Do not consider them as familiar. That is the creature.
Yeah.
You just only see its external figure in a mirror, and you can get a vague feeling of the internal mass, MASS mass, that's all. Is that all? We are talking about the contents of that mass. You said it's a incalculably huge city. Unfortunately, as well as fortunately. Just go around and come back every day, 5 minutes when you go, sleep. This I told you before also.
Yes, I consciously do this every night before
Alright,
sleeping.
brilliant, keep it. And do it as karmanye vadhigarasya. Just do it, do not anticipate any result or anything. Like when you feel like sleep, you go out of the rooms and go up to the bedroom and sleep on the bed. At the time of your going to the bed, your wandering attention, your vagabond attention should discover the Socrates of itself and settle down into that marvelous creature lying down there on that bed under your command. %, it is not owned by you, it is not by you. That's what I told you, you are only remotely linked with that creature. That's why I asked Nitya, come on, tell me, how do you pronounce the word Sydney? Even when you do that. Like you go to sleep on your bed, you let your attention go to the wakefulness of making an expedition to some chosen part of the body every day and gradually complete every department. Finish your eyes first. Whichever you choose, whichever you can physically choose, whichever is nearest to you. Because the Chief Minister cannot, or you get a helicopter and fly down to your legs. Alright? But do not look at your legs as something very ordinary. It is the legs of the most marvelous creature in this planet Earth. The legs are directly connected to your cerebral cortex, a strange thing. Look at the diagram of the brain, of the peripheries of the cerebral cortex. The legs are controlled from the neurons of that area also. That's why you touch the feet of your Guru. That's why the legs are important. It is straight away connected. Every part is straight away connected, but this is connected very strangely to the cerebral cortex also, the cortical area. Look at the diagram and see. So its entire movements are controlled by the motor area in the midbrain. That's why you should be touching your own legs. That's why it is an integral part of the ritual of some of the asanas. At least sit down on your bed as you wake up or as you go to sleep and keep
It's
your legs
23
extended
hours.
and look at his fingers and wonder and see only that. Look at it with partly closed eyes, like the camera zoom. It will work like zoom and look only at the feet, exposed feet. And take some time to detach from that feeling and the thoughts, etc., of your feet, etc., etc. And look at it as the feet of the strangest creature on this planet Earth. That is the clear instruction that should penetrate through the cell membrane of your will. See how I am using the idea of cell membrane? Everything is a cell membrane like function, everything. the same.
Almost the same.
But in practice you can touch the other person. But it is a little different because whether the Guru accepts it or not, it is accepted by the bloody creature of the Guru. Because the touch sensation is sensed by the cerebral cortex also. And whether he talks it or not, automatically the beautiful impulses will splash downwards through the autonomic nervous system and it will flow into you. Any Guru. No Guru can escape from the influence of somebody touching his feet. Even if he may pretend to be oblivious to that. Because the physical body of the you has physically touched his feet. His mindset may not even notice it. But that creature, the beautiful creature which is considering every moment as final and complete, that will notice it. Got the point? And what an ideal Guru does? Ideal Guru will extend both his hands and touch on your head. Where your cerebral cortex is there. But most of them touch at least one hand. Or with I'm talking about a real Guru, not a modern Gurus who will purchase such a blessing. No. Guru, meaning the one who lead you to some new knowing, that's all. It could be even an auto rickshaw driver. I don't mean that you should touch his legs. But why not? If somebody does, if you come across such a wonderful auto rickshaw driver, why don't you at least touch? Not completely, at least bow down to him. Why not? No separation exists for a genius himself. No differentiation. Every entity is identically important and significant as a varied participant of the process of this nature planet. That is the perspective of the genius himself. That does not mean, I repeat, going to interact with the hooligan, no. That's why better limit to your primary interaction with the nature process. I am sorry to say this. I am sorry to say that not even to your wife or your children. Because you came alone and you will go alone. But primarily your commitment is to, your linkage is with the air and the water and the fire and nature and every item in the things around. In the mind, okay. Just don't tell them, just in the mind. I have told them Mantra Rishika and Amaya Rishi just straight. Just don't look at me from the glass of father, trainer, not even as a trainer, just somebody there who talks to you, things like this, that's all. That is my job, that is my role in this form, in which I want to do. I don't want to leave any opportunity missed. It is not a conscious decision, sorry. That's the way I am. And I want every one of you to be like that. I say this strongly because I am convinced that it is the most beautiful experience, guaranteed. Alright, Christabel, of course, metaphor is good. You are the nominee of the total governor of that city, and take your action. Not a governor, that's the king, the emperor of that city, emperor of that kingdom.
Yes, so that's what I wanted to say.
Right.
It's more like king, it's my kingdom, so I have to take charge of my kingdom.
Of course. You are already in charge, you have done wonders in that kingdom, but we are going beyond at the level of genius himself. Yes, do that. Okay, nice. Alright. Sarah, you want to say something?
Yes, Sundarji.
Please proceed.
I mean, regarding the last class,
Yeah, that was the beginning of the session today. You were not there in the beginning. We are doing
Yeah,
that only.
first
This
5
only,
minutes I
this
was.
only an extension and a continuation from that. That is a fundamental. That is the scaffolding. What Vinay said is the scaffolding, and we are trying to create a membrane and a body of dynamically moving attention to cover more details. That's all.
Actually, I had a maybe it is related, but I had a different thought in such a way that the cell is actually the smallest unit which can live on its own. So in some cases, cell itself is an organism like bacteria or fungi. And we human beings, animals, etc. are actually multicellular organisms. And I wonder, and even in these unicellular organisms, though their structure is actually not that complex like us, but even these unicellular organisms are able to even kill, affect in a very adverse way, the human beings. For example, bacterial diseases like tuberculosis, pneumonia, tetanus, etc. So, when I compare this scenario with the real life examples, I wonder even if it's
No, wait. That was not the scenario presented. No.
Alright. Maybe I'm thinking out
We are
of
not
the box.
talking about a unicellular organism. No. Capable of complete function. We are talking about the cell of the human body that's sitting there right now, looking at the screen. You are referring to that which contains every part of your skin onwards that you see, and inside. That is the cell we are talking about. You are very specific on that, because it is genius in self, which is again a field existing in that totality of the cell processes. That cell, Sarah.
Alright. In that sense,
That cell cannot live alone. It will immediately perish. I suppose, Vinay, am I right? If a single cell is removed from the human body, even by that very act itself, it will instantly die, right?
It cannot survive very long. At least not most cells. There are few cells that can. Like every cell has its individual programming. So, but generally, by and large, they cannot survive.
Even a cell assembly called the sperm cannot survive independently outside environment for more than 10 hours or so. Am I right, Vinay?
Yes.
That's a cell that is not a single cell. It is again multiple cell assembly only. But it is, yes.
Yeah, but it is nothing without its parent body.
Yeah.
This cells cannot become autonomous and then function as individual organisms.
Precisely. That was contained in the metaphor of crucible. So every human being is inevitably connected with other human beings also, living in a city. To that extent, I said. What was your point then, finally, Sarah? Therefore, what? So what?
Alright. So, in the perspective of the cells of human beings, I wonder, I actually am originated from the combination, you were talking about that. The combination of one sperm and egg. And I wonder what happens, and now I'm actually doubting about the aging process. What happened to the cells of my body with aging, with years, and as well as what happens to me. What happens to my cells after the death of me.
See, sorry, these are all questions which could have been asked in the previous session. Now, that kind of academic questions, they are all academic questions. If you know, let us say, if you know what happens to your cells after death, so what? What is it, in which way it is beneficial? Here we are talking very practically. To what extent you can utilize the insights and conclusions and analysis and reflections you have had on the session, that is the question. That's what I said in between. We can go to another 30 hours. We are not going to divert. There is no scope for time and suitability. We are not going anywhere. We are restricting our attention into to find out more gravitational principles of our understanding about the cell membrane. Yeah. And because Vinay also talked about two cells which are sperm and egg, we talk about that also. From that, what are your reflections? That was the question. All right.
I'm not getting any idea of the time being synergy. I don't know why.
No, that is not where the answer is. I am not asking your idea independently, disconnected with that. From that, what were your thoughts? You did not think anything further. Hearing all that, you did not have any single extrapolations. That is the purpose of this session. It is not just like your classes in the MTech. No. Whatever I am telling, they are only, as I told you, sperms, just arrows hitting onto your intellect. And it is only the tip of the iceberg. When I say one sentence, I can say another 1,000 sentences. I don't do that. They are all my sentences. It's of no use. You have to create 1,000 sentences when you hear one sentence, ideally. That's what is the one of the, not the major goal of this session itself. Every session combines minimum 3 elements. One, the precise knowledge given, then the reflection of to be applied on that, and then the conceptualization exercise, like I am asking everyone to talk about. That's what I was insisting on Nitya or Anirudh or Parvati or Naveen. Naveen talked about this very related topic, but I cancelled it out. Saying that, that's a parallelly huge topic. We will be definitely touching on that also later. Okay, Sarah. Anyway, at least start wondering about what you heard today, which are all equally relevant, because whatever we are reflecting today are completely based on whatever was conveyed in the last session. Yeah. Not whatever, only part of whatever. Some chosen parts. In the membrane of this program, I am choosing certain parts only. And of course, I am not rejecting other parts with it. Because of the time constraint. Great lot of things to talk about the intercellular region. Great lot of things to talk about the flow of water, so-called water around every cell of the body.
That was what was my point. That was what exactly I had picked during the last session.
Yeah.
The intercellular water.
Yeah.
And how he said water will not stay in one place, it is going across, just flowing all the time.
Is it flowing on its own, or is it pushed by thing? According to the Rasayanic domain of Ayurveda, they are pushed through every cell through a certain force field called named Abhana Vayu. Vayu meaning a force. And when that force is not optimally operative, that water flow will be definitely getting affected.
And then there was
resulting in various discomforts and things like that.
There was one idea that water in a specific vibration can passively enter the cells.
Yeah. That's what I said. About your own analysis and reflections and linkages and extensions. That's why I told in the beginning. Freak out with your extensions. Bring metaphors like Christabel did. like Anirudh did in the marketing communication. Do that analysis.
Sundarji,
Yes.
can you give me one more chance? I don't know whether I'm thinking too much. I don't know why.
Shut up. What you are thinking too much? You were not thinking too much in the last session. What were you thinking about? Then why don't you say something more sensible today? What are you telling me too much thinking? Okay, good. Thinking about what? Okay, tell me something what you thought something else. Come on.
Okay, actually the nucleus contains DNA.
Okay.
So when two cells combine together in order to give a new life, the cells are actually transferring generational behavioral patterns to the new life, a newborn child. And so by so sometimes we wanted to break certain patterns.
No. Repeat that sentence.
In the sense
break
I'm
what?
thinking.
Break. You said break, huh?
Yeah, all right.
What
So-
breaking what?
I'm wondering when sperm of one person and the egg from another person when combined together, and studies have proven that they're actually transferring certain kind of something we carries from generations to generations, and they're passing such things to the new life.
Oh, okay.
So in that case, something is not necessary to, some toxic personalities and some kind of behavioral dysfunctional, certain things are actually existing, and these things are passing from one person to another, some sort of toxic behaviors, etc.
Agreed.
So in that case, is it we can actually alter the DNA and thinking about that. Maybe again I'm thinking out of the box, I don't know.
Thinking out of the box is just a well-known term. There should be some consequence by thinking out of the box. What is the consequence? What is the concluding statement? What are your observations about this thinking out of the box? So what? So you are going to control DNA? Is that under your scope? This is the tragedy of the academicians, Sarah. That is why so-called academicians are never creative. That's why all creations and innovations and discoveries and originations in every field of the world have been done by uneducated, free minds. You are thinking about controlling the DNA, controlling toxic behavior. In which way you are going to do that? Get the point? You feel good about thinking like that. I am attacking those tendencies. That's what I said. With your power of intellect, you should be able to bypass all these things and originally approach every new knowing rather than interpolate what you know already from other sources. All these are your sources. How do you know about toxic behavior? Don't do that. That is academic discussion, good, but that is not the way of this session. Get the point? Yeah. This session requires serious levels of original thinking. Or original reflection. Get the point? No doubt what you said is a good point. You are genuinely concerned about that. Agreed. Okay. But maybe it may be possible by controlling the DNA. How do you control the DNA? DNA is already contained in that arriving sperm. You will take out some DNA and put in somebody else's DNA. What you will do? Get the point? Okay, there may come a stage in 3025 where DNA will be replaced, like even brain is now replaced. I don't think brain is replaced already, it may not happen that easily, but there may come a time. Then again there will be evil. Such a discovery will be definitely used for evil purposes. Understand evil. Evil is an inevitable part of existence. If everything was good, existence would be a boredom. 50% must be evil. Existence is actually made more elegant and more competitive and more dynamic by the interplay between the good and the evil. Those, I would say, those useless idiots, even if it includes Jesus, who said that the entire world can be made ethical, I am saying that he is a stupid idiot. Impossible. That is not the design of existence. He does not understand the design of existence. Whoever says that entire humanity can be made equally good. Evil cannot be eliminated. Evil is just a name. Okay? What is evil? Certain behaviors. That dynamism, in that distribution of dynamisms of expressions and responses and actions and relationships, this also will automatically get in. What? So-called evils. They are also good at their evilness. That is another point you have to realize. The good people stand there and say they are evil. But most of the evil people are really competent and complete in what they do than the so-called good, for your understanding, Sarah. Yes. So-called do-gooders are happy, they are in the list of the God. Happy. Heaven is assured. If they start doing things, if they get the freedom to do whatever they want, you will see how many of them are really evil. Okay? Most of the majority of people who blame the evil, they are all potentially much more evil than those who do the evil, actually speaking. So, get out of all these differences. That is what we are talking about as genius himself. It is another word to talk about the greatest mystic I am talking about. Alright, so start reflecting and writing down notes if you want to. Tintin, are you there? No. Yeah. Mantra Rishika, Amaya Rajarshi, would you like to say something? Are you there? Alright, okay. Mantra Rishika, are you there?
Yeah.
You want to say something?
Yeah, unfortunately I couldn't attend the doctor's session last week.
Alright.
But I heard the beginning part of it. So I'm currently thinking about it.
Alright.
Mantra, would you like to have a short session sometime?
Yeah, okay, sure. I
Come
would
back
love
on,
to know.
so that you're on the same track.
Okay, thank you.
We will coordinate.
Alright, Tintin? Alright. Yeah, now Vinay would like to say something, I am sure. Talk.
Yeah, so something that's really striking is the way the cell membrane behaves is like the way the brain of the universe works. It's marvel, and the wonder of its nature is something we can only reflect and form a personal opinion on, but never really uncover the truth of the matter. The cell membrane has an intelligence of such a high order that all our thought and conversation on it will barely be a fraction of what it really is.
Alright.
So the one example of the evil in a cell membrane is a cancer. It's a cell that breaks away from the designed intelligence of the cell membrane, where it starts to behave and reproduce and spread autonomously. But every cell that becomes a cancer and spreads, inevitably within a finite period of time destroys the very organism that it was once originated from.
Yes, very mysterious. But not mysterious altogether for me. But it happens, how it happens in some human bodies is definitely because of. Sarah, are you there?
Yes, Indrajit.
Yeah. Because you mentioned, you finished Vinay? You continue? Or-
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, that's a valid academic idea for a doctor like him. It is actually not valid for us. I don't envisage a time where any one of you will ever have that. I don't want even you to spare even a second of attention to those kind of knowings at all.
Yeah.
But
No,
for Vinay, it is critically important, no doubt about that.
But my context was slightly different from the academic. It's just that deviation from universal intelligence usually has a short life. That was what.
Oh, that is marvelous. This is somehow connected to what Sarah said also. But Sarah did not say this. Sarah took the example outside the body. So that evil happening within the cell assembly. And a beautiful point right now Vinay said this, I suppose, it does not exist for long. What did you say now?
Variation.
The variation.
Deviation from the universal intelligence, it cannot survive for long.
That is the beautiful part. Once again, that variation cannot survive for long.
What I said was a deviation of a cell membrane from its from universal intelligence.
Beautiful.
Deviation of a cell membrane from universal intelligence is linked with a short life.
With a short life to its destruction of its container itself.
Yes, it destroys the organism from which it
Absolutely marvelous point. That is the precise reason why great majority of human beings reach nowhere.
That is the context that I
Exactly,
that I
beautiful.
was trying to do.
That's why metaphorically it is said, a real hero dies only once and the great majority of people die every day. It's a very distant metaphor, but still, exactly. If you violate, that is the ultimate of ethics you are talking about, Vinay. Ultimate ethics. Why the suffering? Even Buddha was trying to answer the so-called suffering of people. Jesus was answering that. As many people believe, Krishna was not. They are interpreting Gita. Krishna was concerned only about Arjuna. Like I am concerned only about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Arjunas.
Swami, sorry to interrupt. I have a question, more of a doubt. So, the cell membrane destroys the cell, or is the cell destroying itself? Like, is the cell membrane and the contents of the cell together called a cell? Or is the cell membrane and its contents two different things which are together?
Yeah, Vinay would answer that.
Yeah, so conventionally the cell membrane was thought to be just a boundary between the cell and the
It's
environment.
23:30.
Okay.
But today's thought process has changed, whereby the cell membrane is considered to be the brain or the intelligence of the cell, and all the contents of the cell are only actions and processes that are governed by the intelligence that is the cell membrane.
Beautiful.
So, what destroys the cell is, when you say it has a short life, what destroys it is it the cell membrane or the cell contents of it?
My neighbor's car has decided to go off at this point. Can you hear me over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Till they come down and shut it. Okay. Actually. So what happens is when the intelligence of the cell, which is the membrane itself, decides to become autonomous and function in its own way and procreating itself and its new intelligence, eventually ends in the demise of the entire organism. So what is changing in this process is the new autonomic or new thought process of the cell that takes into consideration that it is separate from the entity and it grows at the cost of the entity, but it dies with the entity when the entity dies.
Okay, doctor, thank you.
Or if you didn't get what I said, you can define your question and I'll answer it more directly.
No, my question is answered because I was wondering whether because of the cell membrane not working, does this content of the cell destroy itself or does the cell membrane destroy the cell?
The wrong or the newly acquired wrong intelligence of the cell membrane destroys the entity by depriving the other cells of nutrition and ability to function.
But if each cell is different, then how does one cell go in rogue, if you say so?
So all cells communicate with each other, and the cancer cells communicate with the rest of the cells in a negative way by suppressing them and by deceiving them also, by communicating wrong information which results in the demise of those healthy otherwise.
So it gets more powerful in a way.
It gets powerful because it acquires a new intelligence which is full of deception and full of selfishness. So it grows at the cost of the other cells, which results in the loss of health of the entire organism and its eventual death.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
So you can use even this information. Just opposing it with you as the cell membrane. The you, the so-called you, when you think about the word I, what you feel is the cell membrane only, not even the cell membrane, just that intelligence that controls the cell membrane. What I said now is a sufficient arrow to hit the topic of enlightenment.
That is a beautiful statement, that it's not the cell membrane that is anything, it is the intelligence of the cell membrane that is everything and the only thing.
Yeah. Where does that intelligence per se exist? Not in any particular part of the cell membrane. It is just around the cell membrane. That is universal. That intelligence is everywhere, omnipresent and omnipotent and omniscient.
I think the cell membrane is just the manifestation of that intelligence.
Exactly.
Dr.
When your attention is capable of touching this level of sensing the ongoing dynamics of the creature, that is the ultimate of genius himself, the moment of Satori. You can. In fact, just the other day I have put a small video talking precisely about this. That so-called I is right now governing your sitting there. That I, you are able to differentiate because that if that I is the cell membrane, which it is, that cell membrane is operating because of a layer of that everywhere present universal force just above that cell membrane. that cell membrane, whatever is in that cell membrane and inside, is just getting reflected back by that surrounding mirror of the universal force. And that is identical everywhere, in every cell of every item. And that's why you merge with the universe and all that, all these mystics say. When you are enlightened, you become one with the world. They are using those terms because of that. When your attention is able to touch that bar of actual reality, then you will feel, that's the only language, you will feel. Then you will not be there. But a vague sense of awareness will just float like a dry leaf on a huge lake. That's all. And Buddha talks about the disappearance of that also. That's called nirvana. And that's all academic discussion only. But I use this metaphor. You are just a dry leaf floating on that surface of the lake. Moving from one point to the other. Coming back, that is cell membrane. You are a cell membrane. And that cell membrane is operated by the intelligence of that which is surrounding that cell membrane. That is with that cell membrane also, that penetrates into that cell membrane also. Just touching it, induction current, something like induction current. Without entering into that, it induces change into that. It controls that. You know induction current, Mantra Rishika?
I don't know much about it.
Anyway, induces. Anyway, that's all. Brilliant. Beautiful. Now you have crossed the time limit of 11:30.
I also wanted to add one more point. I was just thinking about it right now. So we could also say that the referent is also the cell membrane of our mental impression.
Talk a little more boldly and loudly. The margin, the cell membranes of the words are not clearly separated from the cell membrane of sentences, etc. Make it more slow, definite and clear. Come on, once again.
We could also say that the referent is the cell membrane of our mental impression.
Yeah. Anything is a cell membrane. Your mental impression is a cell membrane only.
Yeah,
Because that impression contains some topic, some theme. You have mental impression about Vinay, about Krishnabal, about Parvati, about Nitya, about Anirudh, about Naveen, about Sara, about Amaya, about me, about Tintin. It's a good point. That mental impression is again the cell membrane containing that much. Now that that cell membrane about your understanding about these people or about everything and anything around you will be allowing certain modifications inside. You will be contributing certain, you will be communicating with others, etc., etc. Yes, correct. Every mental impression also. That's what I told you in between 2-3 times that we have chosen cell membrane as a fundamental metaphor, at least. It is not a metaphor. That is actually the truth. There is a cell membrane everywhere we can see represented, knowingly or unknowingly, the map. Krishna talks about the city of Bangalore map. If you buy that map and you can see a line separating Bangalore from Mysore. That is the membrane, cartographically represented. But is there an actual membrane if you walk from Bangalore to Mysore, where exactly Mysore begins? Nobody knows. With what one step you enter into Mysore. Anyway, if there are links that measure the survey or whatever, then if there is a link, what is it called, linking chain, that measurement thing, chain, survey chain, right? Yeah. If the survey chain is kept between two stones or something like that, like the McMahon line between India and Pakistan, wherever, if you cut across that line, then you know. Anyway, that's why I repeat, cell membrane is a marvelously wonderful model to understand almost anything. let us, that's why meditation, that's why pranayama, that's why yogasanas, that's why good food, that's why so-called rasayanas. Rasayanas are herbal contents, molecules, cells, basically let us say so, that can penetrate and interact with almost all these processes of those items along with strengthening them. That's what even food is doing. That's what water is doing also. How do you maintain the cell membrane of your identity with the identity of your wife or your husband, with your child, with your colleagues, with your boss, with your juniors? See, I am just giving one of the millions of possible examples that are operating everywhere. And look at a different vantage point. Creativity is looking at things from different vantage point. The genius is looking at things from different vantage points. Don't belong to the conventional vantage points operated by everybody.
I have a question. You spoke about rasayanic molecules. And then I remember you telling, reading about the rasayanam when I started, and it mentioned how it should be ideally taken in a certain in a certain setting, including the food, which will be the same for 365 days, ideally. So, is it connected to cell memory?
100% yes. Anything can operate into the core inside of the organism is possible only through the cell membrane.
No. I asked cell memory. Why is it asking to have the same setting and same food for 365?
You brought in the topic of cell memory, which was brought in by Ganesh last week. Okay. No, it is, I don't know how to bring in cell memory. It is to reinforce the processes that are already there.
Okay, so those molecules are the best to facilitate these molecules.
Exactly. Because everything is a cell membrane. The particles around, let us say even the particle and wave, the primary thing of quantum physics. Every particle is a very particle because of some membrane, something that differentiates one particle from the other one. Okay? So, every piece of stone, every piece of air drop that you are inhaling in, even that has a membrane. May not be exactly, like the cell membrane. But they too have some kind of a boundary there, okay? That's why one atom in one orbit and another atom in another orbit. So it will, what was your question once again?
It mentions about maintaining the same setting and same food.
Exactly. Because at that time, it is not, that time itself, we have to discuss a great lot on referent reality. There is nothing called time. There is no referent for time. Time is just a scale human beings use to measure the progress of processes around, all around. Time itself does not exist. It is just a measure, like you have a kilometer or inch or centimeter or like that, to measure the ongoing process. It measures primarily it began by measuring the duration of process of so-called sun appearing in one part to the other, divided into some number, 24, whatever it is. Okay, that's all. It is only a tool to talk about possession, events and episodes in normal human communication. If you are alone in this whole world, there is no time, only processes all around. Okay. So at that time the processes are different for the body, processes are different around the body, and much beyond that also. But we have to consider that that membrane of that process, that membrane of hundreds of processes that impinge on your body by way of air that is going inside the cell membranes of your lungs. That goes into your mind setting. Again, cell membrane process. And corresponding or contributing correlated kind of so-called nutrients, again having their own cellular processes. Okay? That's why that schedule, Parvati. Knowing all these things, do that. Then you will see the difference. Knowing is important in that sense. Like an emotion is induced by a certain knowing. I am shouting at you, or I said a statement about you. Somebody tells you that I talked about you, that you are a fool. Why you get affected? Someone comes and tells you tomorrow that I said that you are a fool. You feel. It is only 1 or 2, 3 seconds of language, particles of language. But that script is, that letters are not written anywhere. Every sound of that is a neuronal recording. And those neuronal recordings are such that the cell membrane processes of what to go in and what to go out are of a different variety. Let us say, of the neurons, that electrical current dispatched by a certain combination of neurons got associated with food, I saying that, etc., without telling you directly, somebody told. All these quick relationships also will be built by quickly developing neuronal connections all around the cerebral cortex. As a result of that, where do these electrical impulses go? It will travel down the spinal cord and enter into the autonomic system, sympathetic and parasympathetic nucleus, which we will discuss. And it generates wrong, like you said, wrong impulses. A certain set of impulses will compel the cellular membranes of the heart to pump, work more and resulting in more pumping, whereas the other coming to suppress it down. In that imbalance, in that disequilibrium, you feel some variations in the feelings of the body, which you say as a feeling. I felt sad. You have named it. Or somebody told you that name. If a child was given the name happy, when it felt, it would have said, I am feeling happy. When it is sad. Words are already given to reinforce those neuronal connectivities. And after that, that names operate. Get the point? The word Allah operates, the word Jesus operates, the word Buddha operates, not the referent reality. At the referent level, referent reality level, all these are nothing but one. All this and more or less the same thing. All of them said there is only one God, but unfortunately they have given different names to that, that's all. Names to that one God. Every religion says there is only one God, but they have given a different language to that, name to that. And afterwards that name is operating people's mindsets, nothing else. That is the power of the mental impression, which Mantra also pointed out. That mental impression is an assemblage of huge neuronal cell membrane and electrical potential, that's all. So, similar wave should generate in you when you look at yourself. What to do? You look at a deity in the temple or elsewhere or whatever, you reflect upon certain moments about the so-called wonder and mystery and power of that deity. Okay, agreed. So what? The deity is powerful, so what for you? Okay, let there be something for you. Alright. What about if you can look at a piece of stone as a deity with all the marvelous assemblages of imaginations around it? 10% of that not possible with this living flesh, blood, bone, cell membrane assemblage? Why there is a lack of confidence to do that? What public opinion voting is required to prove that as the king of that, emperor of that kingdom? Why there is a delay? Why there is a hesitation? Why there is a doubt? Why there is a limitation? On what basis there is the doubt? What is the basis? I don't understand. I don't understand on what basis human beings can so utterly disregard their own operating reality with every moment. They have taken it for granted. Because of public opinion, the public opinion at home defined the boundaries of that self-identity. Now we are talking about the cell membrane of your identity. What is your identity? All this will come later. Okay. I want you to have the identity of what we name as genius and what is the referent of genius. That's what we are doing. Every language delivered here is about the referent, about the pencil named genius. But this pencil cannot be directly touched and accidentally. It is because it is inside you. You can identify the genius of somebody else if you directly interact with that person or if you read about that book and if you are impressed about that such a level. Based on some stories and descriptions and reports about what they did. But what every one of them is in their attention, in their reflection, in their conceptualization, in their imagination, in their intuition, in their visualization, in their sensing, in their feeling, in their attention to details, that nobody knows. All those engines are there with every one of you. And these sessions are to just exercise those engines basically and with certain solid contents about the engines itself. It is a double-sided sword. Got the point, Paul? This session is like a double-sided sword. One, it is about the engines and it is a high-level conceptualization that should drive your attention to discover the properties and possibilities of that engines. That's all. So that you can help other people to do that. If some of the lucky people are there around, that also is important. Otherwise they will continuously pull you down to their dialogues. Do not allow yourself to be pulled according to their dialogues. That will have a little bit of problems, but as much as possible. Bring them into your dialogues. If they are taking you to their dialogues, why can't you try to bring them to your dialogues? Why not? And mind you, everybody is trying to prove themselves. And when you do all these things, you are not proving anything else. Every time your attention must be to facilitate that person. Not you are getting any credit out of that. You should be genuinely, in every interaction, you should be genuinely focusing upon what that person is so-called benefiting out of your interaction. Or in which way that is something new to that person, whether he registers or acknowledges it or not. Rather, you should be talking from the vantage point of your genius, your enlightened awareness about your entity and whatever we are discussing in this topic. As a tip of the iceberg level, though. All right. What is there? 5 o'clock, Sydney.
4:30.
Oh, you have
Actually, it should be 5:30, but because they are winding back the clock, now it is 4:30.
What about your sleep condition? Is it affected by 4:30, 5:30 or are you feeling sleepy?
A little today.
Yeah.
Because I got up 1 hour earlier than normal.
Oh, I see.
Normally I will set the alarm for 2:50 and then get for 3 o'clock session. But because the time is changing, I wasn't sure whether my phone will bring the alarm at the wrong time. So I put 2 alarms, one for 1:50 and one for 2:50. So I got up at both times. Yeah.
That is the problems of genius. Because Genius wants to ensure whatever he wanted to do or she wanted to do. And there may be this kind of we will end up as fools also most of the time. But you don't care to be a fool.
Yeah.
Only a normal person worry about being a fool or feeling good about it. It is beyond that.
Sir, after listening, I got a lot more perceptions from which was not there before, especially what Christabel said. It is so relatable to think of our body as a city where everybody has got different functions. Every organism has got different area to look after, and the leader essentially doesn't look after the individual sections because it's automatically done by capable resources or the leaders in small parts. But still, our intent, the leading intent, or what we want to lead this city into, that is still within our ability.
That is the responsibility of the intent carrier. That the departments will not do. Because that is not within the boundary of, that is not within the jurisdiction or the boundary of those departments. That is to be done by the emperor only.
Yeah.
And that the emperor can do, provided only that emperor can relate with those departments. That's what we are doing now. We are now relating with the fundamental department, which is spread all, the omnipresent department called cell membrane. That's all. Okay, Ganesh Raman has sent a PowerPoint presentation on the so-called larger department called digestive system. That all we may or may not go. It's not actually essential. And but autonomic nervous system we must go for some other purpose. Digestive system also. But we will refer to in between about what is the correct food and what is the correct approach to what is the current mental impression. With what kind of a cell membrane you have to approach your food. The mindset, the cell membrane of your mental impression. How do you look at your food? Like Parvati also indirectly implied, there must be a so-called attitude. There should be a mindset when you sit before the food. Anyway, these are the ways of the so-called genius himself. Whether they do any particular advantage or not, though it does. Because genius does not take anything for granted, that's all, very simple. Even a single cup of tea is a single cup of tea with its own identity. And the approach of the genius is with that split second of an appreciation for that moment. Okay? Every moment of taking that tea must also involve your attention to feel the feeling of its taste and the temperature in the tongue and the mouth and all that. Why not? Like Nitya said, they all will be automatically done. As I told, as a simple metaphor, you can drive a car without knowing anything about anything of that car. No doubt. That should be the way. Otherwise, majority of people, if you want great majority of people to drive the car with that knowledge, I don't think even 1,000 cars will be sold. So cars are made like that. But when you see, when you feel, when you love, when your attention, when that energy of your love penetrates into every cell, every nut and bolt, every cell of that cell membrane that you see in the form of the vehicle, every department, every part of the city of that vehicle, then it is a beautiful feeling to drive that machine. That machine will almost talk back to you. Ayyo. That's why life is beautiful. The beauty of life is not to come tomorrow. Then tomorrow comes the beauty of life. Then that is vanished. Again, continuous search for beautiful life. A lot of people, even today, Mandra asked me, you don't have any negative feelings about your life experience. Even I wonder, I don't feel anything negative about my life history. If I look at it that I lived one of the most difficult and ridiculously, what you call, miserable life, we can say so. Even without food for several days, despite having a so-called PhD. But I don't feel anything, I genuinely do not feel anything. So, like I have given you so many examples, relate everything with this membrane concept. Because that allows us a beautiful strategy to penetrate into the palace. Like it is, you can use it like a master thief to enter the deepmost truths of the palaces of whatever you want to understand. Do not talk about that, but use it as a metaphor in your mind in participating in discussions and dialogues with other people. For example, you are talking to a difficult person, so-called. How will you penetrate his strong membrane of rigidity, of a certain approach to you? Are you going to attack? If you cannot attack, if none of your dialogues work, what are you going to do? Is there a potential possibility of a dialogue, for example? Because after all, you can only talk to people. Is there a possible, probable combination of language by which you can penetrate closely, tight, impervious cell membrane of the other person? If you want to. But of course, that is not a correct example, because the other person can, with all his or her new understanding about you, still continue to pretend that he doesn't understand you or she doesn't understand you. Because there is a pleasure. That is the tragedy of the mind. It is able to derive pleasure. So-called people are actually driven by pleasure principle only. Even in the hatred they find a pleasure. Almost the same as they feel pleasure in loving them. That is the beauty. Have you ever thought about that? They derive pleasure from hating you, or quarreling with you, or shouting with you. If they are unhappy about it, will they do that? So we have to be very careful to debate with the person who is hurting you, because he is enjoying it. If you definitely, it is not a philosophy, it is definitely, otherwise he wouldn't do that.
Actually, I would like to be silent with such a person. I don't know. Is that right?
Is that right?
If somebody is enjoying hurting me, I'd like to be silent, not get into an argument.
Actually, when you said it, let us go to deep practical level. That will irritate that person more. And you have to shout back. Then you may think that that person is not liking it. Actually, that person wants that. Because that pressure is maintained by directly contradicting you. But see that it does not cut beyond a critical point, turning point. But keeping silent it is like adding water to fire. Sometimes it may dampen the fire, sometimes. But if the fire is too much, water will only energize it. They will take out the oxygen part of that water and the fire will go. Because they are at such a level of fire.
And why would they do that?
There are certain other cell membranes started operating. When I talked about, let us say, a limited range of cancer. Cancer can happen to the cell membrane of our mental impressions. That is what is going on in this world. Cancer is for the mind. A certain small topic, a small boundary decision about when Pakistan and India was divided, that certain topic is taken out of proportion and there is war going on. One dialogue mistakenly made is taken out of proportion and it is expanded, it grows like rigorous cancer cells and capture the entire mindset and that person wants to kill you. Okay? Humanity suffers from cancer of the mind, not of the body. Cancer of the body, they will end up dying. But cancer of the mind, it is ever increasing and ever controlling the world. It is a cancerous mind, the president of China, for example. It is the cancerous mind of the evil medical companies and the board of governors of such companies. The biotechnology laboratories which generate viruses and spread in the world. What else is that? For what purpose? What they are going to gain if the entire world is put into a secret biological weapon? That's what is going on now. There are already many more biological weapons. I have direct information. I knew about all these viruses some 10 years back. They have already discovered viruses that will induce mental illness. You know that? Like schizophrenia and manic depressive psychosis and serious mental illnesses. With that kind of virus, you cannot induce neurosis. Neurosis meaning milder forms of behavior disorders. It is easier to create schizophrenia, manic depressive psychosis, or psychotic depression. Already there are viruses created. But they don't do it because if that spreads into their own country, it will be much more unmanageable. But I suppose it may also happen in about sometime definitely. Because such is the level of deep cancer that has captured the entire mind of people concerned. Already they have experimented in certain parts of the US, in South Africa and some other countries, very, very, very mild quantity. Of course, they have proved it with animals, rats, mouses, guinea pigs and all that. Monkeys. Even cockroaches. Even cockroaches behave however with that virus, Nitya.
Sir, I have come across a couple of doctors in USA who are actually going around giving free lectures saying that at least 15,000 people are dying every month in USA due to medical prescriptions.
Anyway, no, let us not talk about that. They are also a reality. Let us not go into discussion of that. We will go haywire. We are here not to change the world at all, Anirudh. Don't enter into that mistake ever. Nobody can do that. You cannot do it even in your, what you call, panchayat. You cannot do that even in your own territory of the house or the neighborhood. So, your world is precise. The boundaries, what I told, the cell membrane of your world should be clearly specified for you. That includes your, in a very generic statement, your friends, your relatives, your colleagues, your associates, your business partners, whatever. Plus, that is at the people level, then in the event level, then in the action level, then in the communication level. To whom will you talk, what to talk, when to talk, how to talk included. There should be clear definitions about that. That is your world. The other world is definitely there. But you cannot do anything there. You cannot even communicate with that world. Then what? You will be where you exist. Your house. That may seem very funny. Your world is physically your house, the road outside, the vegetable market, then your office, and the place where you go. It is the boundaries may be constantly like amoebic movements. Okay, if you go to a department store, when you are there, that is a part of your world. Like that, very easy to understand. That's all.
Thanks to you and Dr. Vinay, my new world is my body.
That of course, that's the purpose of this sessions. Your new city, your new kingdom, your new kingdom. That word, the word should be deleted. Your new kingdom.
Yes,
And be the emperor there, legitimately,
absolutely.
ethically, and creatively.
I have one last question to doctor.
One more question, not say one last question, one more question.
Sorry, one more question to doctor about the cell membrane. So, do all the cell organelles also have its own cell membrane?
Oh,
Yes, absolutely correct. So, every organelle within also consists of some sort of membrane. So the same mechanism also to some extent is extended to those as well. So some of the other membranes are especially the membrane surrounding the nucleus.
Okay.
And then there are also certain, they are not organelles, but they are spaces within the cell which are actually vesicles. And these vesicles are actually bits and pieces of the cell membrane itself.
exactly. Yeah. Nothing cannot differentiate without a membrane, right, Vinay?
Yes, it has to, finally, any division boundary margin within or between cells has to have membrane, and the same structure exists.
Membrane creates the identity of that particular intercellular particle.
I beg your pardon?
That only defines it difference from other particles inside the cell.
Yes, yes.
Okay, doctor, thank you.
Even, and he said even there is a vesicle, that means a hole, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the boundary of that hole, how that boundary of that hole is maintained, see?
Yeah. And the boundary of that vesicle is the exact identical as the cell membrane. And when the vesicle actually dissolves, that membrane of the vesicle goes and reintegrates itself with the rest of the cell membrane.
Yeah, it is a theoretical membrane, created by the cell membranes of the neighboring cells, right? Sorry,
Yeah.
of the cellular, intercellular material, right?
It's a cavity lined by cell membrane containing anything that is required for the cell functioning. It can be something that the cell has taken in from outside, or it can be something that the cell is about to discharge outside.
So the vacant vesicles are vacant because they need to take things in and out.
Yeah, so they become vehicles. They are just bits of the membrane get pinched off, and they form the vesicles. And when the vesicle eliminates its contents outside the cell, that bit of cell membrane, which is the vesicle, goes and reintegrates itself with the main cell.
Okay, so whatever comes inside and goes outside is also comes and goes inside within a cell membrane.
It goes through the cell membrane. So this mechanism called endocytosis is where the cell membrane engulfs the item to be taken, and then it surrounds that item and it detaches itself from the main membrane and forms that vesicle within the cell.
No, there was a different part to that question of Mantra Rishika. She
Yeah,
asked whether the processes outside the cell membrane are replicated inside the cell membrane.
No, I was thinking of it like the doctor was talking about the vesicle being empty and
No, language not clear. Language is not clear. In cell membrane, so the words are not clear.
no, the vesicle is empty. So whatever comes inside and goes outside is transported after getting into the vesicle.
Yeah, so the vesicle is actually formed. The vesicle doesn't pre-exist. The vesicle can never be empty. So,
So whatever comes inside and goes outside also has a membrane, a temporary membrane of its own.
yes. So that temporary membrane is formed by a piece of the main membrane itself detaching. You know, I don't know, when we were kids, when we had these balloons and the balloon would burst, then we would take bits and pieces of the balloon and make small balloons with it. I don't know, parents
Yes.
didn't like us doing it because of the dangers involved. But anyway, so the vesicles are formed like that. A piece of the cell membrane forms a smaller, almost like a cell in itself, and that is the vesicle.
Okay.
I'll run through the presentation with you, but I will ask you.
Okay, ma'am.
That might help you clarify this, give you a mental impression of the cell in and out,
Okay.
substances going across the cell.
Thank you.
Alright, I'm feeling really hungry.
What's for dinner? Dosa?
Yes, dosa.
I wish I was there.
I await your appearance here anytime.
Yes, I'm working on
Alright, Raghunath.
dosa and some
Sorry. Alright, Raghunath, Nitya, Parvati, Vinay, Naveen, Sara,
Hey, sir,
Christopher.
Yes, sir.
sir, just quickly,
Ah.
next Sunday I will not be here. I'm traveling, so my presentation, if it can be after that, it would be better.
You are at your free will, Nitya, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Good
Bye.
afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Good night, sir.
There are absolutely no compulsions, no confirmations. You are just traveling.
Yeah.
Our attention is just traveling across all these cell membranes, all the ideas and the words and the sentences. That's all. And let us see where it will reach.
Yeah.
Okay? Wish you all a wonderful time. Till
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, very much.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Nitya. Sara, Christabel, Vinay.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.